right, Coach, we'll turn it over to you for an opening statement, and then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, obviously super excited about the win. Excited for the guys, excited for the staff, excited for all our support people that helped these kids prepare over the last 8 months. A lot of the things that I was hopeful would happen, happened, obviously winning the game. Tons of different kids making contributions. We talked all last week about last year when we made plays. It was a very select few individuals that made all our plays, which was very disconcerting to me that we had so few playmakers on the field. And then you watch this game, whether it be OD and special teams, there were so many different contributors. I thought our sidelines were way different, our confidence level, our poise, our professionalism, which we sorely lacked in all three areas a year ago. Our kids showed up to work Saturday to win a football game. They stayed professional. They stayed confident. They stayed poised. There was no panic. It was nice that they cut it to 13-7 right after the lightning delay just for our team. Obviously, I'd like to win 55-0, but it was nice for our team to be in a very similar state. It was very eerily similar to Eastern Kentucky a year ago. Felt like we should be dominating the game, but we weren't on the scoreboard because of a couple turnovers. And all of a sudden it's 13-7, and last year we completely spit the bit and played terrible on offense and played terrible on defense and played terrible on special teams, and we lost a game we probably shouldn't have lost, where we got 3 straight stops after they cut it to 13-7, and we scored 2 straight touchdowns, and we pulled away, and obviously very comfortable at the end. There wasn't a lot of stress, but it was nice to see our kids react in a professional manner when it got tight and keep playing, keep doing the things we asked them to do. Obviously, the run game was huge. Our tailbacks ran the football for a lot of yards. Last year, we didn't run it great, and when we did, a lot of times it was the quarterback run game where we were in empty, and we had incredible box looks. And then particularly in the fourth quarter, 2 key things is when they knew we had a lead and wanted to run the ball, we ran the ball effectively, which is hard to do. That's kind of the funnest thing in coaching, is when they know you got to run and they can't stop you. But then 2, we put in up-tempo offense. We've never really done that before. The advantages of doing that typically are that you can wear the defense out. At the end of the game, all of our offensive players, although we were very tired, right, and our medical staff and our strength staff did a great job of getting our kids through the game by a lot of different means to help them stay out there. But at the last drive, we had all of our players playing, and it was the shock troops on the other side of the ball. They had a number of defensive guys that were either rotating or weren't even in the game because of cramping and dehydration, where we had some cramping and dehydration, but we still had all hands on deck at the end. And again, that's what you're hoping with part of your up-tempo, is that you can wear out a defense. And I think we saw that all of a sudden it looked really, really easy out there. Well, it was a lot of it because they had a lot of backup D linemen in. It got real easy, and our kids had more gas in that tank because they were used to going fast. So that was a huge positive too. Defensively, I think the first 2 drives, obviously, we were a little helter-skelter, a little bit. And they do some things that are hard anyways. Then we settled in. I thought we played really good, obviously, when you give up 7 points, and they had a 38-yard scoring drive that was kept alive by a defensive holding, that if we don't hold on that play, we're probably getting off the field and getting a shutout. So I was pleased. And then again, defensively, you called a lot of different names. You know, a lot of different guys made tackles. A lot of different guys got involved. It wasn't just Quentin Rollins, making every play, or just Kent Kern. There was a number of different guys. And you see a couple of the big plays on defense. We got 8, 9, 10 backups on Tony Reed's interception. We had nine backups on the field, 9 non-starters, and Tony was a non-starter. So it wasn't just more contributions from starters, but we had 2s in there making plays in key situations and helping us win games. So there was tons of positives. Obviously, the negatives are penalties in general, but we had a few early offensively, and then we settled in and did better offensively. We still got to clean those up. We had some defensively that if you're in tight coverage, you're going to get some PIs. We had tight coverage, got some PIs. It's better than guys running wide open, and the special teams penalties were terrible. They were absolutely very, very immature, overzealous, trying to do too much penalties. Should have never even happened in a game 1, but should be easily corrected. Just really bad decision making. If you coach 3rd grade and you hit as many people from behind as we did, you'd be really disappointed. So it was just, and a lot of it was young guys that were getting out there first time, and I think they were going to hit somebody, which is a good sign that they actually want to go hit somebody, but they were really, really easy calls, and a number of them I couldn't even tell who they called it on. We had 2 or 3 hits from behind on the same return. You're like, who'd they get? Because I saw a bunch of them. So just a lot of overzealous, overaggressive stuff that cost us major field position in a different game. It could have affected the outcome. Obviously, it didn't.
So you face Wisconsin this week. It's not too often Miami goes up against a top 20 ranked Big Ten school. So how do you beat a team like that?
Well, one, you'd have to play your obviously very best football. Probably even play a little bit above your head. Two, they have to play their not very best football, because if we play our best football and they play realistically, they're going to win the football game. So what you want to do is, hey, go in there and prepare and practice at the utmost and come in and play as hard and as smart as you can play. And then you hope they make some mistakes. You hope that they lay the ball on the ground, or they turn the ball over, or they make a special team mistake, or they get some penalties. It's gonna take both to get the scales tipped our way. And then the other thing is you try to get the game into the second half. All right, they're coming off a loss where they played, really well, probably for 2.5 quarters. Then it got away from a little bit, but they're going home, and Paul Chryst' first home game, coming back home where he played and he coached and has had tons of success, and they pride themselves on smashing people in the mouth. And no better time than when a MAC school comes into town after he's played Alabama to get back to running the ball for 7. And they love to run. At different times, they've had multiple tailbacks hold the national rushing record, so they're not afraid to, grind you for 4 quarters. So I'm sure that's the plan. So we got to try to get the game to halftime somehow. And then if you do, then maybe the pressure gets more on them, because they're not anticipating the game being very close at halftime, and then maybe they get a little tighter, and maybe they make some more mistakes in the second half, because that's how upsets happen. Usually the game's a little closer than it should be, and then you make some uncharacteristic mistakes. So that's the plan.
So when you're talking to your players, do you feel like they kind of have a David versus Goliath mentality heading into this weekend?
I think a little bit. We're not going to play too much up on that, as much as we've got a lot of improving to do. And if we spend, we're going to talk about, trying to gain some respect and that whole idea of being the underdog. But we got a lot of things we got to improve on as a football team, and then we got to look at Wisconsin does structurally and attack what they do structurally on both sides of the ball. And to me, just like I talked last week, it's not preseason, but it's still, for me, we got 11 games left, and we got to get better in a lot of areas. And if we just focus on getting better in those areas, I think we'll continue to get better, and I think we'll have many opportunities to win games this year. And is this our best opportunity to win a football game? Probably not. But it's an opportunity, and we're going to go in there with guns a-blazing, and there's not a lot of pressure on me or us. Or we're going to go in there and fire from the hip and try to make as many plays and try to make it as fun as we can. But at the same time, we're going to try to get better in a lot of areas that we know we need to get better.
And you've talked about how more players are now contributing on the team. So what do you attribute that to? Is that, having a better offseason, or are there just more athletes now?
Number one, recruiting. We got a lot better players. All right? Our running backs are a lot better. Kenny Young, Alonzo Smith, Leonard Ross are just way more talented than probably kids we've played in the past, and that's just genetics. It's not, you'd like to say it's good coaching and good conditioning and all that, which is part of it, but it still starts with the genetic abilities of young men, and we just have way more athletes on the field. We tackled way better on defense because we have better players on defense. Everybody says, well, you tackled better. Yeah, we tackled better because, did we work on tackling? Yeah, but we worked on tackling last year too, and we were the worst tackling team I've ever seen. And then we closed a lot more space on defense because our kids can run. The reverse play, we closed a ton of space. There's a lot of plays that open up. Even the long run they had early, we ran them down, we stripped them, and we had guys running to the ball. And the neat thing about the fumble recovery for Tony Reed, we were in a coverage. Tony got out leverage, which he's never supposed to lose leverage on the play. Well, the ball out leveraged him, which created a big play. At about the 35-yard line, Tony puts his head down and starts chasing, which is, one, he's a good athlete, so he's running fast. Two, we've preached about running to the football, and Tony hauls back to the football, and he knows all the time he's running that he screwed the play up. He lost leverage. That's why the guys run down the sidelines. And T.J. Williams and Bryson come a long way to make the play, and Tony, who kind of blew the play to start off with, 35 yards later falls on the end zone, and that's a huge positive. Like, they don't know, and you got lucky. Yeah, we did get a little lucky, but Bryson did strip him, and Bryson did run him down, and Tony did pursue like we want kids to pursue, and turn what perceived to be a bad play initially into one of the biggest defensive plays of the game. So just having better athletes all over the field gives us way better opportunity to make plays.
You mentioned the team came out, and was all guns blazing at the end of the game as far as bodies. Colin Buchanan went out earlier in the game. Any other injuries coming
He
into
was the
week
only
two?
one. He tweaked his ankle and didn't come back in. But all the other guys that kind of were coming and going were semi-dehydrated, not fully dehydrated, but they were getting there where they needed fluids, and we did a great job, and our medical staff was working overtime to keep pumping fluids and get stuff in their bodies. We ate. At halftime, we ate during the lightning delay just because you knew you'd burn so many calories. And it's not just drinking. You got to have calories in your body. So they were feeding them feverishly to get more calories to replenish all the ones that everybody was losing out there. So it was a huge, and we were smart at the end of the week. We went, the indoor might have won us a game already. We went in the indoor Thursday, Friday, and some people even asked me, like, what do you, it's going to be hot on Saturday. I said, I know it's going to be hot on Saturday, and we're going to play a lot of guys, but all the energy we expend Thursday, Friday practicing, we're going to have less in our tank for Saturday. So we made a decision to go in. It was, I don't know how much cooler in our indoor. It's not air conditioned in there, but it was night and day from being on the field. And just those 48 hours of getting our kids stronger for the game, to me, might have been the difference in the fourth quarter. I don't know it was, but I know our kids were fresher than their kids. And I know without the indoor, we would have been out there Thursday having a 2-hour practice in 90-degree heat, and the heat index was ridiculous. And we had kids on Tuesday and Wednesday losing 8 to 10 pounds in practice, and we didn't want to do that on Thursday, and we definitely didn't want to do it in a Friday walkthrough, lose 5-6 pounds in a walkthrough just because we're out there baking in heat. So just having that facility and going inside, kept our kids a lot fresher, and they were probably a little more drained based on being down south in the heat and humidity, and didn't have the same opportunities we did. So it turned out to be pretty good.
With Colin out, talk about the other guys on the offensive line. Obviously, you ran the ball very well. Drew was protected for the most part of the day. Kind of grayed out the offensive line.
Well, it was nice because Terry Davis slid to right tackle, who's played back and forth, but Terry kind of can slide wherever we want. He really did a nice job filling in for Colin. Trevin did a nice job at left tackle. Cookie did a nice job at center. Then at guard, we played Rigg, Jimmy Rusher, and Sam McCullum. Okay, Sam McCullum's been here for about 2 weeks of classes. All right, he's a true freshman from Dublin Kaufman who had a very, very strong game, an incredible game for a freshman, but a pretty strong game. Jimmy Rusher, up until about 3 weeks ago, played D-line his whole career, and we moved him to O-line, and he's got about 3 weeks of experience. And then Jordan Rigg was a high school tight end, and he's a redshirt freshman guard. So they did a really nice job inside when we were going to probably play Hovey and Swartz was the plan going in the season. And then Terry was number 3, so we played really our 4th, 5th, and 6th guards and ran the ball better than we've run the ball around here in at least a few years.